This week I had the chance to see the movie Last Breath starring Woody Harrelson, Simu Liu, and Finn Cole about a real-life story of three divers who faced a dangerous emergency situation at sea. In this video, I will be discussing both my thoughts about the movie itself and also the performances of its main cast, including divisive actor and personality, Simu Liu. Now, for those not familiar with Simu Liu, I'll give you a bit of background. Over the past several years, there's been no shortage of arrogant, self-entitled celebrities that have alienated their own potential audiences. And to make matters worse, in an attempt to appear more inclusive, both Hollywood and the legacy media have gone through great lengths during this time to spotlight and build up certain actors and actresses who, according to them, were breaking glass ceilings for underrepresented groups, often putting them on pedestals regardless of their actual talent, skills, or even their overall behavior. Like Brie Larson, who was billed as a modern-day feminist, and then she said she didn't want straight white males to watch her movies.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time.
Or Amanda Stenberg, who blamed millions of viewers for the failure of her show, The Acolyte, without considering the possibility that it just wasn't a good show and that she herself wasn't good in it. And more recently, we've seen Disney Snow White actress Rachel Zegler verbally attack over half of America and constantly pushing audiences away with her obnoxious behavior.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in press of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Another actor who easily fits this bill is Simu Liu. For those who don't recall, Simu Liu gained recognition when he was cast as Shang in the MCU, based on a martial arts character from Marvel Comics. While it's fair to say his movie Shang-Chi and the 10 Bracelets wasn't as bad as, let's say, The Eternals, Wakanda Forever, Black Widow, or Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, it also wasn't exactly the most spectacular MCU movie either. I also think it's fair to say that Simu Liu didn't quite win over audiences as the main character there with his general lack of on-screen charisma and charm. And unsurprisingly, when Shang-Chi was released, it wasn't a financial success either. In fact, outside the Disney shill mainstream media reporting, Shang-Chi is believed to have actually lost money at the box office, which is why to date we haven't seen a sequel. And beyond his irritating social media posts, usually driven by identity politics, Simu Liu also managed to annoy many people as a judge on the unscripted show Dragon's Den, where he seriously damaged a small boba tea business by accusing them of cultural appropriation, even though making tea isn't exclusive to any particular person of any background.
There's an issue of taking something that's very distinctly Asian in its identity and quote-unquote making it better, which I have an issue with.
But while the Shang-Chi movie didn't really pave the way for him to become a true cinematic leading man, Simu Liu has been able to secure a number of more supporting or ensemble roles in recent years, like the role of David in Last Breath, a new movie about deep-sea divers. Now, before we dive into the movie itself, no pun intended, please make sure to like and subscribe, as it would really help my video get noticed by the YouTube algorithm. Last Breath begins with professional diver Chris Lemons getting ready to go on an underwater pipeline repair mission 330 feet below the surface. His fiancée is worried about his upcoming dive, but Chris assures her that it's just a routine repair and that he doesn't anticipate any issues at all. On the day of the dive, Chris joins his crew of Duncan and David as they prepare to go into the ocean. We then see their detailed routines of body pressure adjustment that are necessary for these type of dives, followed by the divers being lured into the deep ocean from a vessel called the Bibi Topaz. However, as the divers are already in the midst of their repair, the vessel runs into technical issues, with several of its crucial systems malfunctioning and shutting down. During this crisis situation, the vessel loses touch with the three divers, including Chris, who has completely separated from his crew, is lost, stranded, and with very limited air. The movie then turns into a full-fledged survival story and rescue operation, and while on paper, a lot of what I've described here probably sounds like it would make for an excellent film, unfortunately, Last Breath is quite flawed and has some noticeable issues, especially due to the writing of its first act. As much as the diving, the danger, and the resolution are actually quite intriguing, and at times even suspenseful, the movie never really does enough to make us care about the characters we're watching on screen. Within the screenplay, prior to the action, this movie really needed to establish the relationship between these three guys and dedicate significantly more screen time to flesh out these characters. Duncan's existing close friendship with Chris is basically conveyed to viewers through one sentence of exposition dump when they first see each other on the boat. Instead, what we really needed needed to see was both of these guys in a social setting like an outdoor barbecue or a bar, really highlighting how the older Duncan is something of a mentor and a father figure to Chris. David's character is shown to have reservations about Chris's skills prior to the dive, questioning if he's even ready for such a mission. This type of potential conflict between characters could have been expanded upon prior to the dive much more in order to really raise both the stakes and the drama. Instead, much like with Duncan, we learn all of this from a few quick sentences that aren't especially effective at properly setting up the characters of the movie, making viewers far less invested in them than they should be. I think a big part of the problem is that The Last Breath co-writer and director Alex Parkinson, who also directed the documentary version of this movie's real-life story, doesn't fully seem to know how to write and direct a more straight-up scripted movie that also needs to build up a more nuanced and complex narrative. Yes, Parkinson's more documentary visual style helps make the mission feel more gritty, and that I did like, but while this works for the underwater crisis scenes, this exact approach also fails to build a strong story foundation leading up to them. In what I consider a real missed opportunity, the movie struggles to captivate its viewers initially, even though it does eventually find its footing later on within the second act. And what's rather frustrating to me is that Last Breath certainly has a solid premise to work with here, with an entire underwater setting that really has merit. As for Simu Liu, even though I admittedly am not a fan of his antics, I do admit that he performs adequately enough as an actor within the ensemble cast of Woody Harrelson and Finn Cole. While Simu Liu's performance in Last Breath still won't make me especially seek out movies that he's featured in, I can't say that he negatively affected the movie or anything. Still, it's doubtful if this movie will bolster Simu Liu's standing as some big movie star. Personally, I think that even his more leading man role in Shang-Chi only highlighted his lack of star power compared to icons like Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee, which he was seemingly trying to emulate there. He simply doesn't have even a fraction of their over-the-top personality and on-screen presence, but for a relatively low-budget diving movie, I would say that he did fine. Ultimately, if I had to grade this movie, I suppose I would give it a 68 out of 100, which is unfortunate because if the first act were stronger, it could have scored much higher, but the first 30 minutes of this movie are just so boring that they really drag it down. On a positive note, at least the movie is only about 90 minutes long, so it doesn't ever overstay its welcome or anything, and if you enjoyed hearing my thoughts about it, and you want early access to all of my upcoming movie reviews, please make sure to like and subscribe so that you're always the first to see them. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day!
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. But I'm